If you can't articulate that on one sheet of paper when you have a coffee meeting with somebody that you have 15 minutes, you're wasting your time. If you don't know what benefit they're going to have from working with you, you're wasting your time and theirs.
And thank you for listening to Serves You Right. My name is Andrew, and today we are getting a chance to sit down and talk to Neil Rogers, author of Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar. Sales is a confusing category to a lot of people. There's a lot of hype about what it is and what it isn't on the internet. There are a lot of shysters, tricksters, hucksters, and everything in between. So it's a real pleasure to get to talk to someone who has written from the front lines, who speaks from experience, and who got to start in the bar. Me and Neil talk about why the best sellers are calm, organized, impossible to ignore, how they have clarity in what exactly they are bringing to the table. They have a clear offer proposition, and of course, so much more. Thank you for listening again to Serves You Right. My name is Andrew, and without any further ado, here's Neil Rogers. Service starts now. Neil Rogers, thanks for joining us on Serves You Right today.
Serves me right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I've got here, it's a VP of Sales at Rogers Marketing, co-founder of Positive Activity, and author of Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar.
That'd be me.
A man of many hats. Yeah. So I was hoping for my audience that may not be familiar with you and your work, could you give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of who you are and your trajectory that landed you to here today?
Sales guy.
Yeah.
And that's all I was ever born to do in terms of not necessarily the iced Eskimos guy, as they put it, but one that relationship building, and that stems from my time behind the bar. You had about 15 minutes to get a relationship going with somebody. In that case, now we have a lifetime. We've got clients that we've had for 30 years in our current business. So that just speaks volumes to both my wife and I. Both came from the hospitality world. That's where we met. And so yeah, so it is. I was never going to be an engineer. Never going to be a doctor. Struggled to mightily to get through school and figure out what I could learn, how I could learn, which was an incredible process in and of itself. And to this day, I still learn the same way. If I am going to read something, I need the audiobook, I need the book, and I need a notepad. Otherwise, I get nothing for you. So yeah. So I mean, and for the last, let's see, I sold food for out of college when I finished up, and I did that for a couple of years. Was successful at that. Then I got into the athletic footwear and apparel business as a manufacturer's rep. Did that for 8 years and had a wonderful time with that. Worked with great guys. I worked with great guys at the food company too, but that 8 year period with these two guys that were friends before, and then became coworkers. I worked for them and really mentors. So I learned a lot doing that. And then I took a swing at a startup and a miss, and in an area we could have done well in, but we just I got a partner, and you know what partners are for? Dancing. Okay. So and then for the last 30 years, Lori and I have a swag business. So we do promotional items. We do, but we really take a different approach towards it. So we really treat it like the really great media that it is, and we present it in that fashion. So that's all part of when we talked about positive activity. Positive activity is the sum total of our experiences in our lives that we use both in business and our personal life. Our personal life, we've got three children. The middle one is a 34-year-old man who's profoundly autistic. And so we've had that journey, and we took the same approach on that journey. that all those things you learned in the book or you read in the book all come into play when working with schools and teachers and paraprofessionals and just anybody in that walk of life as well. So so those little tips that I learned behind the bar, they've served me well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And, I like how at the beginning you start off. It's a quote. I believe it's Anthony Bourdain, and it's kind of fun to quote to you a quote that you quoted from someone else. But as I've long believed, I gained more knowledge in kitchens, bars, and dining rooms than any college could even hold. And I've always really loved that. You know,
It stuck
I
with me, sadly, Anthony took his own life,
mhm,
but I remember watching some of his shows. I'm not big on that stuff, but I watch it because of the hospitality, and then when I saw that quote, I said, "No true words have ever been spoken," to the point where I have a new book coming, that really features it's bar tips on steroid not on steroids, but it's kind of a reworked version of it where we really get into the teaching of these things and how
mm,
young people can actually practice these things. So so you saw in the importance of a proper greeting. I mean, when you find that kid, a 22-year-old, 18, 34-year-old, I don't care, that comes up to you, shakes your hand, and is interested in what you have to say, I go, well, we got one here.
yeah,
They stand out so much. So it'll all be about that. So how can you get better at your greetings? Well, you can try. Number one. Number two, if you walk a dog, say hello to everybody you see. You'll be
mhm,
amazed what you get back, and you'll
yeah.
be amazed on how that makes you feel. If you
No,
if
and
you if you if you go sit at a bar, at a train station, at a counter at a breakfast place, engage the person next to you. Ask them a question, and then shut your mouth. Yes.
well, there's something magical in bartending where you know I feel like in modern life, you don't get a lot of reps when it comes to interacting with strangers, but the bar is still one profession where not only do you get a lot of experience, but you have a lot of experience on repeat every shift. And I mean, I just pulled it up here. You say when a customer is within 10 feet of you, make eye contact and smile. If a customer is within 5 feet of you, make eye contact, smile, and say hello. It's, it's like you're operationalizing being friendly to people, but in this day and age, there are so many people are so glued to their cell phones and their devices that you may actually need this kind of gentle prodding to get some of the younger people into this mindset of like connecting one to one with people, not through the mediation of a screen. You kind of have to teach it and train it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. And by the way, that 10-5 rule, I won't take credit for that. That is the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh, yeah, that's
No,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's, the, I like to pay homage to
Mm,
those that brought us.
yes.
And,
Yeah, just fair disclosure, I pull indiscriminately from my quotations, so if I do that
no
accidentally,
problem.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'll always
Yeah,
I'll
correct me.
always give the, right credit. The, um, but yeah, I think it's getting so people are hiding on digital too. I would suggest right now ghosting is up dramatically,
Mhm.
dramatically. And it's like, whoa, with peers, sometimes I deal with salespeople. I'm trying to, work with salespeople and marketing people and doing all the things that I profess to do that are tenacious, which is creative, right? We're not persistent. Right? Persistent sounds like pest for a reason. We do different
Mhm.
things. We send them things. We send them boxes. Send them things, get their attention. To show creativity, to show that we really like to help them or do business with them. And I think the algorithm has changed quite a bit, and I don't know quite what it is right yet, but it's just an interesting thing. It's like I have a interesting one going on right now. This is even something I just did as a favor for a friend. So I live here on a golf campus in New Hampshire, and so one of my friends approached me and said, "Hey, would you mind pitching this to the membership and the people and the?" I said, "Well, sure, why not? So I do that for you." So I went and I spoke to them. The spoke to the people. I got blown off by the owner. He didn't show up at the appointment. I'm dealing with 26-year-old marketing girl who has no idea what I'm talking about. Once again, I have no compensation in this at all. I just think it's the right thing to do. That was the middle of December. The three guys, the folks that have asked me to do this have not followed up with this woman.
Mhm.
It's January 7th. I probably met with her a month ago. And I'm just dumbfounded. So bizarre. So I don't,
Yeah.
so so I think, so in this book, this new book, and I haven't quite titled it yet, but it's about 6 chapters in, and it'll mirror some of the same things you read in this. There might be different quotes. Might be another story. It won't be as story driven. I mean, it'll be more, and it's going to be a 6 by 9 book. And you ready for this?
Mhm.
You are not going to be able to get it on Kindle.
Okay.
There's going to be plenty of white space because we're going
You
to
get it
force
right.
them to write and
I
make
like that.
notes. And there's a lot of research done that how you retain and how you learn more and how you're more creative when you write.
Mhm.
So that'll be front and center when they turn the first page in the introduction. Here's the reason why this book is set up this way. Right? And there'll be questions and whatnot, thought-provoking things. And that illustration I just gave you on becoming a better person with greetings will be in there.
Mhm.
So and then
Well,
more.
I think the treatment that you received, the lack of response, now that it's been almost a month since that meeting, it mirrors something else that I remember from that chapter about, you know, it's something that I've seen a lot of people struggle with. And I think it's such an easy place to excel and exceed people's expectations, remembering people's names. Because the lack of memory of names, I think you said it makes them feel like they're just a faceless number, just like a cog in the system for your sales and not a valuable individual and a human being on the other side of the transaction.
Well, Dale Carnegie,
Oh yeah.
which is
How
where
to
which
make friends
that
and
thought comes
yeah,
from.
win
Now we
friends and
know
make
that to
friends.
be true because you walk into a bar or a
Mhm.
restaurant, your favorite place. Hey, what's going on? Right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Norm. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, but Dale Carnegie said, hearing your name is the sweetest sound you'll ever hear.
Mhm.
That guy wrote that book in 1939. No truer words are spoken. It still goes to today. Um, there's a lot more shortcuts today. There's no question about it. You can text, you can do whatever. You don't necessarily have to. Um,
Mhm.
you don't necessarily have to have a conversation. I prefer it. I actually said to a woman, it was, matter of fact, it was the speaker bureau that I was trying to pitch to represent us in our speaking, and she took over for the guy I was working with that he was representing us. So I said, hey, how about a good old fashioned in person? You know what the question was? She asked me,
Why?
what's an in person?
Oh, yes.
This was not a this was not a millennial. This was a
Yeah.
60-plus-year-old woman. It's kind of like, and maybe they're all, people are just getting caught up in this, the
Mm.
hiding and the ghosting and all that. When, maybe if you had a half hour, 45-minute conversation, just might find out that there's value here.
Yeah.
But we wound up having me in person. It went great.
Yeah. Well, I do think, you said it there, but I wanna kind of grab on and twist it a little bit to the way I understand it, that there are all these tools, and you almost hinted that you can use the tools as sort of a like a barrier, like a wall that will protect you. But I actually I see the tools and the modern devices not necessarily as a protective measure, but more as an amplification. So, like, and to explain that, I actually have notes on my phone of all of our VIPs that I can quickly, flip to in case I've forgotten someone. And I have a digital kind of note card thing that I actually make note cards of the regulars and their names to try to make sure I remember everyone because we do have a lot of people in the restaurant. I still run a restaurant. And so I think you could hide behind, the textual like interfaces and never actually interact with anyone, engage with anyone. But I think you can also use the tools to improve your ability to, see people and actually handle a larger volume if you are intentional about it.
Absolutely. Here's my in a different context. Here's everybody that I live on this campus. I've been here for 5 years. Here's everybody I've met.
Mhm.
Gives
Yeah.
me a fighting chance to remember them because it's
Mhm.
fleeting. You meet them once, whether it's usually in a restaurant bar situation, right? But I have a fighting chance to remember them,
Yeah.
right?
I think David Allen said, your brain does a lot of beautiful things, and it is a lot of beautiful things, but it's a terrible, terrible filing cabinet. You kind of have to, you have to have some sort of external
Yeah, I like that.
organization, and
Yeah.
yeah. And actually, on that, I thought we could talk a little bit, or do you mind telling us a little bit about, the section of the book, "The Most Organized Wins"? And I thought
Okay.
that was a really, really important section.
So that quote, that title of that chapter came from the guys that I was working for in the sporting goods business.
Mhm.
And it was just this guy, Bill. Bill, both of them will have clever things to say. Bill maybe edges out Brian a little bit, and he just look at it and go, "The most organized wins." What does that mean? If you show up to an appointment, so in the time we had footwear, we had apparel, right? Now that's got to look right. It's got to look good. You're gonna
Mhm.
if a shoe is not laced properly, if there's not a shoe form in there where the shoe can show, where someone go, oh, that looks nice. I like the color in that. I see the midsole or whatever that is, and then especially apparel. You know, who's buying from you? Right? So if you show if you in your paperwork is out of line. Yes, guys, there's still paperwork out there. Not everything's on an iPad, and you're gonna leave. So you have leave behinds and all that. You're a mess. And who's buying from someone that's a mess? Does that mean the order's going to get placed properly? Kind of doubt that. Is it going to get followed up properly? Questionable. That's what goes
Mhm.
through my mind. I
Yeah.
we had a guy that we have a lot of reps that come to meet us, right? We've been working out of the house. We are the original people working out of our house. I've worked out of my house for 40 years.
Before it was cool.
Yeah, I've had high deductibles forever. Everybody's
Mhm.
everybody's throwing up over there. Of course, I don't anymore because I'm 65 plus. But yeah, we had $12,000 deductibles as a family, right? So, but yeah, so it's just um, spend your Saturday mornings organizing yourself. If you're it's a salesperson or whatever. I mean, I
Mhm.
think anybody in business, organizing your materials, your samples if you're in that business. And this is another quote that came from Bill. You make money on Saturday mornings. So I never had mowed my lawn because I felt it was better for me to pay a guy $50 to mow my lawn. I'm making
Organize
money
your life.
organizing
Yeah.
myself, my business, getting ready for the following week. It's
Mhm.
2 hours on a Saturday morning. I'm not saying, well, some days it would turn into longer deals, but pretty primarily it was a short deal. Now you know what it's like in the restaurant business, right? So I remember, the restaurant I talk about in the book is a place called Tia's. Tia's
Mhm.
was owned by these people that owned two places over in the Faneuil Hall Marketplace in the heyday of Faneuil Hall Marketplace in Boston. So they knew bars, they knew speed, they knew efficiencies, right? That bar was set up for speed.
Hmm.
It was like, your taps were here, right? So if you're on I used to work this one station called H, and so that you had 13 plus or minus cocktail and food waitresses and waiters coming this way. You had people here, you had people here. Now it was a bar that was kind of an L-shaped bar. There was three other guys back there, and guys or gals in the beginning. They now have eight. Now we lost at four. I'm not gonna say it. We were over our heads on a Friday night. But
Yeah.
when we went to five, we were okay. But we were all pros. I mean, it's so anyways, but it was set up and I can still tell you to this day what was in the speedwell. And I can tell you and then they had these slanted racks, and the top shelf was vodkas. You're gonna laugh at this. The three vodkas, yes,
Hmm.
three, was no four. You had the bar liquor, which was typically SS Pierce or Pleasant Moments or something of that
Hmm.
nature.
Some unpronounceable name we don't know.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then you had Smirnoff, which was Call, and then the two
Hmm.
top shelves were Absolute or Stoli. That was
Yep.
it.
That
There
does
was
date
no
you a little bit.
Raz and
Yeah.
vanilla and yada, 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 yada.
Hmm.
And oh, by the way, I don't even know if they're making those drinks in that place now, because if they are, they're not keeping up with them, because if it's still as busy as it was. I think I also put in the book jokingly, kind of half jokingly, if you've worked that station, you've tended bar.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was crazy for 8 hours. I mean, absolute. It wasn't like you guys are now with the shakers going all the time. And my goodness, I get enough already with all that. But it was vodka soda, vodka tonics, sea breezes. White Russians were huge. A lot of the Midori stuff. So, anyways, it was all set up to win, not to
Yeah.
lose.
If you're enjoying this so far, please take just 2 seconds and hit that thumbs up, I like this podcast button. It means the world to me, and it really does help this show grow. All right, back at it. I had two bars similar, one set up for it, one not. So in Santa Fe, there was kind of a clubbish bar called Milagro, and I would work Friday double, Saturday double, and towards the end of the night when the DJ would start playing, so that like 2.5 hours, I would usually sell about 6 grand. Like we had like another person, but like that bar was not set up for speed. I had to have a bar back. I had to have another bar to like it just everything was big and spread out. It was a restaurant that would turn into a club later.
Yeah,
And then I got the opposite experience. I worked at Coyote Cafe and Cantina, and it's a very high end spot, but they have an outside patio area. And I mean, on the weekends for the like summer season, we would have 1,000 people come through that night because it was just beer shots, quick margaritas, and it was fast. And that bar had space for two people. And so I was the Friday double guy, and pretty much the guy helping me, his name was Rich, awesome dude. He would help the few seats at the bar, and he would just be there to hand me bottles when they're empty, and I would just shake the whole time. But it was I'd never had to take more than one step. I was just
yeah,
shaking and I was pouring. Literally, the keg was to my right. I didn't have to move to pour beer. The beers I could grab them to my left without stepping. Like it was
yeah.
set up for speed, and like I served more people out of that one well than I ever did on any night at the other place. And yeah, it's night and day when you see it well executed versus just like ramming people down an inefficient system.
Well, I think the reference I make is how there's a place down the street here called Not Your Average Joe's. Where are you in?
Currently in Omaha, Nebraska. I went to college in Santa Fe, and through a long yeah, it's longer story than needs to be told.
Yeah.
Ended
Okay.
up
I
in
was just curious.
Nebraska. Yeah.
So the place down the street called Not Your Average Joe's. It was built from scratch. Right. It was used to be a Pier 1 Imports, like a retail store. And these guys, they have a number of these. And I'm watching this girl work the bar, and she was good. She was quick. She could have worked with us, but back in the day. But I finally asked her. I said, "Why are you running around like a nut?" I said, "Who said that this was built from scratch?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "They didn't ask any bartenders, did they?" No.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's amazing why they don't. I don't understand it, but it's like uh, whereas they're the ones that are going to be in the arena, as it were, right as it says over my shoulder here.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Um, last kind of note to that, because I do want to kind of go back and talk a little bit more about organization. The company that I'm with now, and part of my journey of showing up here, they actually have a couple other locations. So there are 4 locations that are all the same steakhouse, 3 in Oklahoma, 1 here. And back in the day, they moved their Tulsa location from an old location to a brand new build out. And so I actually joined them right as they were doing that. And then they were doing a similar build out with a similar layout in Nebraska. And they were looking for a general manager, which is how I ended up here. But it was a beautiful, beautiful experience because I got to see the move. I got to see the restaurant suddenly jump in sales and cover. And I got to see all of our decisions in design that worked and also the ones that didn't. So not only were they willing to take suggestions from someone who is on the front lines, we got to see everything that we wished we had changed in that first move and
yeah.
essentially copy it up here, and all the things we didn't like, take them away, and the things that we loved, keep them. And so every little annoyance was just taken out of the system. And so it's like every inefficiency we had that you couldn't really change without shutting down and rebuilding, we got to fix when we came up here, which has been a really
Oh, cool.
fun experience. Yeah.
Sorry for that
I
little
did want to
herky
go back
jerky.
because,
My computer was saying it wasn't plugged in. All right, it's now plugged in. It's a weird thing.
yeah, that's
Anyways,
okay. Well, the computer's not very organized. No.
it's,
uh, I,
then there's
I
that.
was going to say, to your Saturday note, I will always remember about 5 years ago, I read, I think it's called The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod, I think. Um, Very positive guy, but his whole thing about waking up a little early, organizing yourself, doing a little bit of something to set your morning and your day up for success. That's when I really went from feeling like my wheels were spinning constantly, not getting anything done, to actually kind of having a purpose and feeling like I was actually affecting change. So like, maybe not a weekly check-in, but even a daily check-in can help. Doesn't have to be a super long thing. Mostly have like a notepad with a couple of notes of what I want to do, but the smallest bit of organization does go a long way.
One of the things I just we come back from, obviously we had the holidays, and your whole route. I don't know, my routine gets all. I'm an active, very active guy. I
Oh yeah.
cycle, I do yoga, I do Pilates, I weight train, all that stuff.
I definitely don't eat this many cookies most times, but yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So so I get back. So and we did a little travel and went down to Florida. Saw my wife's mother and some friends. And so we get back this week. I have like just been organizing and cleaning up, and I feel so, not that I felt bad when we were away. I kind of like put it aside. And I said, I'll get to it. And then when I got here, just like everything. And so it's cathartic. So
Mhm.
and it's about organizing. So now I feel more organized. I just feel better. So that's certainly that. So organizing, what we also do in our positive activity program, my wife does this marvelous um, presentation on things to do before you open up your inbox. So your mindset is right. So that's positive activity.
Mhm.
This part of the positive activity puzzle came about 15 years ago. What started probably in 2008 when the world was ending in terms of business, right? and we're
Oh
in the
yeah, right
market.
when my wife was entering the workforce, she still remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, and then our daughter got injured in her senior year in college. She was a Division I lacrosse player, and that kind of got so Lori and her went to a local event, which was all about holistic healing and all that stuff. Don't want to spook anybody out there, but mindful behavior, simple stuff like yoga, like meditation. It doesn't have to be something woo woo, but sit there and
Mhm.
listen to your breath for 5 minutes
Yeah.
whatever. Every day, I journal. And this is a lot of people are talking about this. And certainly we didn't invent it, that's for sure. But and the whole positivity thought process. But three things you're grateful for. Write them down, and it doesn't have to be big. It can be anything. The coffee is warm. It was a great day yesterday. And then try to find something in that period of time where you can relive it. Let's see if I've got one for you here. I mean, never
Mhm.
mind
Well,
sharing.
I, I I do a similar practice, and yesterday I was thankful that I didn't cave in and have a sweet. You know, it's not a huge thing, but it's a journey that I'm on where I've been trying to get my health under control, lose a little bit of weight, and holidays definitely do not help with that at all. So it's something I'm grateful for.
So here are my three things. Great class with Emily. She was the Pilates instructor yesterday afternoon, and it was a struggle because I just got back 3 days. I did yoga Saturday, Pilates Sunday, yoga Monday, and this class yesterday. I was like, and it was a struggle, but because she's a good kid, and, whatever. Um, I finished chapter 13 in another book I'm writing. That's the book that we're writing. It's using positive activity to navigate the special needs world. So I
Mhm.
just finished that yesterday, and I had a great night's sleep last night. When you're
Yeah,
67
yeah, yeah.
years old, Andrew, and you can sleep through, you get 7 hours straight. That's a good night.
Mhm.
And then last night, I don't know if you're a music buff, or this is an oldie music buff. So I set up a date with my wife. I bought the tickets in advance, and we went and saw Song Sung Blue, which is the movie about um, a Neil Diamond tribute guy and his wife, eventually his wife, who was a Patsy Cline like singer, and it was Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman.
Mm.
So it wasn't about Neil Diamond. It was kind of about his music, but it was a whole story about them. It was just, anyways. It was a really engaging movie. So now when I look at even my mentioning that to you,
You got
I
a smile
feel
on your
better.
face.
I feel
Yeah.
better. Yeah. So I mean,
Mm.
it's so when I go and talk to kids about this, I speak at Berkeley School of Music here in Boston on these things because they're all songwriters or they're artists. You talk about people who need better communication skills, and that, yeah, you're an artist, but guess what? Get in line. There's a number of them out there.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, so these are all the things those are the things that we teach and whatnot. So that all that stuff can be done in 10 minutes.
Mm.
The longest thing you're going to do in that is a 5-minute meditation. Don't even call it meditation, listening to your breath, and
Yeah.
then open up your inbox.
For sure. And, continuing our theme of wagging our finger at the modern era, I don't think a lot of people have a moment where they have nothing happening, no inputs, silence. Even if you're not doing a proper meditation, even if you're not doing like the Vipassana or like any of these crazy things, the value of sitting and having nothing happen for just a moment. Like you can hide a lot of stress, anxiety, problems, issues just by relentless busyness. But if you never stop and reflect, you never ask yourself, like, are these things I'm doing, is this what I want to be doing? Even, you could just be so busy as to not realize that you're too busy to realize that you don't want to be busy. Like, you can get yourself into a special kind of trap that is really difficult to get out of. And I was wondering, for the reader who may not have had the pleasure of reading your book, could you dig into the positive activity a little bit and tell us, because you kind of alluded to it, just maybe expand on that a little bit or kind of tell us about it a bit?
So you got a little dab there with in terms of setting yourself. So the ditty that goes with positive activity is positive activity is the practice, right? Nothing's a perfect, everybody out there. So
Mhm.
let's not beat ourselves up if you miss a few of these things, or if on one day you can't get to it or whatnot, or the world blows up. But it's the practice of getting your mindset in a place of happiness or positivity. You can control most of your happiness, right? Then this is provable. Again, homage to the book, and of course, he had a lot of research himself. The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acorn. It's a great book, and if nobody wants to read the book, go watch his 12-minute TED Talk, and it'll change you. He doesn't really go over these practices, but for those, you can buy our book. The but the but so now your mindset, you're in a place of open-minded, divergent thinking, solution providing, creativity. You don't see problems, right? So, but if you go into the problems first and you're just going to get into the lather of it, well, you're into the lather and you can't see as well as if you have that open-minded, divergent thinking, creativity going. And the way you're going to get there is to do those things and even sitting with yourself in your own stuff for five minutes. And you just lay in bed and do this a lot of this stuff. You don't have to be, just don't get up the first, I gotta get going. Now, I have the luxury, and I think a lot of people have the luxury today of just waking up in their fuzzy slippers and going into their office, right? So just take that moment. And it's a hard practice to get to. So so now you're in creative mode. Now in business development, which is the original intent of positive activity, is like the seven steps or so to business development. The fundamentals, right? They're undeniable, right? You can argue about a lot of things, but if you don't know who can buy what you sell, you're wasting your time.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you can't articulate that on one sheet of paper when you have a coffee meeting with somebody that you have 15 minutes, you're wasting your time. If you don't know what benefit they're going to have from working with you, you're wasting your time and theirs.
Mhm.
If you don't have structured, if you don't know now that you know who can buy what you sell, if you don't have them organized in some form or fashion, whether it's on a legal pad, an Excel spreadsheet, some fancy CRM, whatever, you're wasting your time. Now,
Mhm.
if you don't have get, keep, and grow campaigns, like how are you going to approach somebody in order to get that 15-minute coffee meeting that you're going to talk to them about that one sheet you created? You're wasting your time. If you're going to send out emails and hope against hope, somebody's going to email you back. I mean, and now for crying out loud, Outlook makes it easy for you. They've got junk,
Mhm.
they've got other, and then you have your regular emails. I've looked every time I look at other, there's nothing I click on. Nothing. Junk just
Mhm.
immediately gets junk. I don't even look at that at all. So you have to, and what we're saying here is that you need to be structured in how you're going to approach them. You know, you need to know back to the data, the group you know, the group you meet, the group you buy. The group you know are the people you know, the people you do business with, people your mother and father do business, your brothers, your sisters, whatever.
Mhm.
Everybody should know what you're doing. So instead of, I mean, for years people would say to me, "What is it you do again, Neil?" Right? So and you get, well, here it is. I give one sheet. I can talk to them about it. Just take them right down,
Yeah.
and I hand them one. But those people are good referral sources if they know what you're doing, if they know who can buy what you sell. The group you meet, those are your referrals. Those are your people you meet at a cocktail party, at a charity event, at wherever, where you've given that, you're, you're giving them your elevator pitch, or your 30-second commercial, whatever we're going to call it these days, and they go, oh, that's kind of interesting. I might be interested in that, or I might know somebody's interested in that. Great. Don't think they're waiting by the phone for you to call, right? So that's the referrals, the people you meet, and then the group you buy is the least one you want to work with, because now,
Advertising and
yeah,
yeah.
now you're just you're flying blind. So the so there so those are the steps, and then all those things should be structured, and they should be structured for 7 significant touches. Now, that can include an email, and that can include a phone call, but you want to do something else, like send them something like this,
Mhm.
get attention, show them that. So, what we call it, tenacity versus persistence. Persistence sounds like a pest for a reason.
Mhm.
Tenacity is Nike.
Yeah.
They do something different. They're always attacking the business different way. And then finally, you should understand how to have the initial meeting. Okay, so that's business development. I use the same process, the same thought process in my piano. What does that mean? So for the last five, so I played the piano ish, some form of fashion, since I was 13 years old. Have never mastered the craft, right? So about 5 years, and I've sung. But I never, I took some lessons as a kid in piano. Took some lessons when I was like 33 or so. When my wife bought me the piano, and then I did it again, maybe when I was in my 50s. Right?
Oh.
I got bits and pieces from each one of them. Right? But um, but I never knew, um, but I never had any formal vocal. So I saw a friend of mine posted on Facebook during you know what, and I won't say the word, that she was singing and playing the piano. I said, "Where are you doing this?" She told me. I said, who is this person? I need to talk to them. So she hooks me up with this woman, one of my new favorite people I've ever met in my life, Lindsay Rinaldi, and she is the executive director at this local school here. So we started doing stuff over Zoom, and then when we first started going together, when you know what ended, and we could be humans again. She says, "You play the piano?" I said, "Well, yeah." I says, "You're gonna have to learn how to play in a second." All right, how do I do that? Because I've always played the melody in my right hand and the chords in the left, and or some version of the chords, whatever. Well, you're gonna start playing the chords in your right hand, and a bass note and some sort of pattern in your left. Okay, how do I do that? Anyways, she gave me an idea on how to do that. So I took night, and by the way, these positive activity programs, we suggest a minimum of 90 days of doing this process. I
Mhm.
mean,
Long enough for it to stick, sort of
yeah.
thing.
And
Yeah.
what you will find is what we talk about is activity begets activity. You get
Mhm.
on a roll, right? All of a sudden, so back to the business thing for a second. All of a sudden you're getting all these requests for quotes, or people are giving you orders, or they're returning your calls. They're getting the message, and you won't recognize where you came from. 90 days later you go, and I've done this in each one of the businesses that I've been successful in. Every one of them just did a process, not as elaborate as what we're talking about here in the mind stuff. I was a positive guy. I was a positive guy. Well, you have to be in the restaurant business. You're pouring drinks with people. I was never in management, so I never had to go with that. But I
Mhm.
was always in front of the house. But anyway, so
You
so now so now back to the so I put together a plan, 90-day plan of playing the chords in various inversions, different ways of voicing is what they call a chord. And I did them up and down the piano. They were all in these songs. 90 days later, there I was, on stage in front of 200 people, playing Burt Bacharach's "A House Is Not a Home" and singing,
Mm,
and got lost in my soul, and I found my way home.
cool.
So it's
Yeah.
just, it's and I think and that same thing is what we propose to do with special needs parents, with anybody, to just get structure. As miserable as it is, or whether you're building a new business, which can be tough, you're learning a new skill, which can be a challenge, you know,
Mm.
just bite-sized pieces, back to the oath. Did you ever see What About Bob?
No, no, tell me about it.
Oh my goodness, are you a Bill Murray fan?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, write this one down, Andrew.
got it.
What About Bob? It's Bill Murray, and he's a little whacked out guy, and Richard Dreyfuss plays this psychiatrist. I think he's a psychiatrist who just wrote a book called Baby Steps. Baby Steps, Dr. Marvin. So little bite-sized pieces to change behaviors. This isn't anything new. I mean, we all know that. I remember when I was trying to figure out my life and trying to figure out how am I going to be successful? Why can't I get anything going? Because I was thinking too much in terms of the end result as opposed to the steps to the end results. So I
Mm,
came up with a thing for myself. No, I didn't see it on any fire and brimstone sales gig or what. No, it's just like, let's just make progress every day, some sort
mm.
of progress. And that's what brought me to where I am today.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something I heard recently that stuck with me. James Clear, the Atomic Habits guy,
Yeah,
who's in vogue these days, he described any process that needs a lot of work. He said the best way to tackle it is ABZ, where Z is you know where you want to go, you have that goal, you have the outcome in mind. A is the honest assessment of where you are, what you have, your abilities, your deficits, and then B is the very next step. He said C through Y usually take care of themselves. Like you will discover that as
I
you
got that.
go,
Yeah.
but you just got to have A, B, Z. If you have that, you have a path forward. So because yeah,
There's so much stuff out there, Andrew. And what I've told people, if they're listening to our lectures or someone, find something that resonates with you, that just
mhm,
strikes you, and give it a try and see how it goes. But you have to give it an honest try. You have to
sure,
stay involved. Someone says, if you're coming into positive activity, and you listen to us and you say, I really want to do this, you got to give it 90 days. Now, you can adjust. You don't have to like stay strict with, oh, I said I was going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. If it ain't working, adjust, right?
sure,
So
yeah,
what do they call halftime adjustment, if you will, right?
yeah,
Good coaches do it all the time, and I don't even want to be called a coach. So coaching is not my gig. Mentoring is my gig. Mentors
yeah.
suggest, coaches tell.
I like that. Yeah. And one thing I like about the positive activity, and let me know if I misread this. I feel like one of the big issues that a lot of people have, both you in your business and people outside looking into business, the thing you're often trying to solve for is certainty. I feel like your method of, aim for clarity, clarity in what I'm going to do, clarity in who I'm serving, what it is I'm serving them. Like clarity can provide a lot of certainty and remove a lot of those question marks that sometimes will arise. Like, what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Or for someone outside looking in, is this for me? You know, if you have a one sheet, if you have a description, you can know very quickly this is the business for me or this is not for me. It solves a lot of that muddy gray area.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
maybe
absolutely, sure, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's you got it right. I mean, and it's all in it. You can interpret it any way you want, really. It's just like um, but yeah, it just I don't know. Just in the end, just finding something that this is about as trite as it comes, but something that works for you. There was a guy back to the restaurant business. There was a guy, Fred Smith, who own a place called the Wharf. He's actually my buddy's uncle. My buddy, I was friends with the whole family, and he just had another quick way about him. He goes, "Whatever works, works, and that's what's important." I don't know.
Sure.
And it's just like, whatever it is, I mean, and because there's that's why they make chocolate and vanilla. I mean,
It
I
works.
know very
Yeah.
successful people that can bang phones and get people on the phone, and I don't know how they do it. It's nothing I want to do. I like
Mhm.
to. My approach is more passive, more less in your face. We're here to help. And not foregone conclusion. You're writing your mortgage with me. That's what I
Sure.
remember. Watching this one guy do it. He said someone would sit down, he would just immediately break out the application. He didn't ask about the kids, you know, what their desires were. It's like, okay, so where do you work again? And it's like, and it was the guy was very successful.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, there is sort of a charm in people that can pull off that level of brashness. There's a naked almost authenticity to someone who just like, this is me, here you go. Yeah, all right. I wouldn't be able to do this, but somehow you do it and it works. You know.
and what they're saying to you is, it's okay if you stand up and walk away.
Hmm. Yeah.
They don't care. It's like, okay, if you don't write this with me right now, I think there's about four others that are gonna come in right after you. That's a
Mhm.
level of confidence I ain't got.
Maybe I wasn't hugged enough as a child, but I need a little bit of a gentler introduction.
Now, as a
For sure.
customer, I don't buy that at all.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't buy it at all. I mean, it's like
Mhm.
I kinda I'll goof with them. I mean, and if I can get them to break and get off that track, then they get a shot at selling me. But if it's just like, if you're giving me that, what is it gonna take for me to put you in that car today routine?
Mhm.
You know, it's not gonna go well.
Sure.
Not gonna go well. So,
What one area I did want to make sure that we talked about in the book before the end of our conversation today, appearance. I feel like that has an oversized effect on your effectiveness. So, do you mind talking to us about the proper appearance and showing up ready to impress?
well, I know it's all changed, right?
Mhm.
But whatever your world is, like if I'm talking to the kids at Berkeley, they're artists. They dress like artists, but go to the top level of that, whatever that is, you know. Um, it depends on what you're looking to do, especially in someone like that. Who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to get to? Or are you so back to our friend that can write, can start writing the mortgage application right? If are you that confident in what you can do that it doesn't matter, well, there's that authenticity there. I think on the up and down the street level, the old adage that goes with it is you never can be overdressed.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just something I still live by. Um, and so when I tried, here I am at the holiday
Dress to impress.
in my
Yeah.
jacket, my
If
red
you're just
jacket.
listening, he had a picture of himself dressed just to the tin. Yes.
Well, it was a red jacket. I'm singing with a big band for the first time in my life, and I wanted to look the part. So,
Mhm.
and but yeah, I just think, I've talked to my son about this stuff because my son is an on-air. I think he probably found you. He does all my podcast stuff and whatnot.
Mhm.
I said, Cam, I want to tell you
I think
something.
he's the one who reached out to me if I'm yeah, that
Yeah, he
is
did.
right. Yeah.
I said, my friend, people think that little scraggly beard online, on TV is good. I'm here to tell you, it's not. If you're gonna have a beard, have a beard, or
All
you're
or
gonna have
nothing.
that tight trim thing. It's a great look. But you get that tweener thing going, and you get that little chin music. Uh, Not for me. So,
Mhm.
Now that's still the 67-year-old guy yelling, "Get off my lawn." But I just think that as a general rule, do the best you can. I mean, as a friend of mine who's he's a he has a one of the restaurants I worked at, a place called the Boston Sail Off obviously in Boston. He sends people home. No, you're not ready to work. Go home. You go home, get dressed, and come back. Or if they come to apply for a job, he'll send them home with that. He says, "I'll tell you what, you seem like a
Come back
nice
when you're
kid.
ready.
Come back when you're ready to be interviewed. Dress
Mhm.
properly." So, the one of my I've mentored a number of young, usually males, um, because they have my story. Struggling to figure out the whole college thing and the education and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and then they're fumbling a little bit and they're trying to get off and they get going on their career. And so I met this woman, ironically enough, after I spoke at my brother's funeral, and I spoke about how I mentored some people in Toastmasters because I'm in Toastmasters. I haven't been a good Toastmaster for the last year, but it's a great organization for anybody that is trying to learn, trying to get out there and be more. And that's another tip that will be in the book. Join
Mhm.
Toastmasters. Go speak in front of people. But so, anyways, she said to me at the bereavement afterwards, because my brother was the pastor in this spiritualist church. She goes, "Do you mentor people for a living?" I said, "No, but somebody's got my story and you know comes from a friend or whatnot. I'm happy to talk to them.
Mhm.
Typically, I like if they read the first couple of chapters in my book because that really establishes how I'm on their side. But sure. So, anyways, she goes, "Would you talk to my son?" I said, "Well, sure." She bought the book on Saturday. It was a Saturday this funeral was. This is how crazy Amazon is. You know when she got the book?
Saturday?
Sunday. Now
Oh, yeah.
there are the only inventory on these books are in my garage. Printed it to order. She got it Sunday. Crazy. So, anyways, the kid called. So, anyways, so I said, she texted me. I said, "Got the book. I'm giving it to my son." Okay, great. I said, "I'm available tomorrow morning." Okay. 11:30 it starts. No, it's 11 o'clock and it's starting to roll. Like going. I said, text her. I said, "Listen, I got to get going here. Money." Oh, he's gonna call you right now. So he calls me, and here's the vocal I got. Oh, hey Justin, how are you? Neil Rogers, what's going on? Nothing. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What do you got going on today? He goes, "Well, I got an interview phone interview at 1 o'clock." Okay. All right. Tell me about what's the company. So he gave me the name of the company. I did a little quick search. I said, okay. All right. Well, looks like software as a service or something of that nature. Okay. Let me see if I know the CEO. It turns out I went to LinkedIn. I said, yeah, I'm once removed from it, but we haven't got time for that right now. But here's what I suggest: get 3 pieces of paper. Right. Put one down. Do a workup on the company, Chat GPT workup, some sort of AI workup. Get
Mhm.
a lot of knowledge. Write down everything when the phone. Oh, by the way, before you do that, go upstairs or wherever you are, go wherever you're going to shower, shave, put on a crisp shirt and a pair of slacks and shoes. You're going
Mhm.
to work. So he did, so I'm assuming he did that. And I said, oh, by the way, are you an athlete? He goes, yeah, I played basketball, football, and baseball. I said, great. Those are my sports. Consider this a rep. Yeah, just consider it a rep. Want the job, and try, but just know
Mhm.
that it's a rep. You win, you lose, you draw, you're okay.
You're doing free throws, you know? If it makes it in, it
Yeah,
feels good, but it's
yeah,
practice.
practice, right? So, anyways, he gets through that. I talked to him on Tuesday, and he says, so he's the next thing is he's got to make a pitch on Wednesday. So what are you going to pitch? So he had done some staffing work, some you know body shop type stuff, staffing.
Mhm.
I'm going to speak on that. So, well, great. You know the topic. Fantastic. Okay. In the meantime, get prepped. Do you have a suit? He goes, no. Talk to your mother about a suit. Okay. They go get a suit. She miraculously gets it tailored, whatnot, to fit him. He gets through the pitch. Thursday, I'm talking to him, and you're gonna like this. He says, so I said, just talking more. I said, tell me how the pitch went, this, that, and the other. Oh, by the way, the vocal is changing.
Mhm.
It's more confident. He's speaking more laudable, right? So he, so I asked him. I said, "Tell me more about you. What kind of work have you done?" He goes, "Well, I worked at Friendly's." Oh, Friendly's is an ice cream and sandwich shop but it's table service. What did you do there? He goes, "Well, I served." Oh, well, now you're in my wheelhouse. Think about all the things that you did as a server. You greeted people. You had to resolve problems. The fries came out cold. The burger wasn't cooked right. The fribble was off.
Mhm.
You had to have some sort of, let go, goodbye. You had to show up on time. You had to be well presented. All those things. Otherwise, they sent you home, right? Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Think about that. And then, oh, by the way, I heard your mother got you a suit. Great. Wear the suit. Oh, no, yeah, because now that's right. He's going in for the in person on Friday. That's what this was. So I want you to get in your suit. I want you to be there half hour in the parking lot, a half hour early. I want you to listen. I want you to sit there and listen to your breath for 5 minutes, also known as meditating.
Mhm.
I didn't tell him that. Then I said, I want you to be in that building, into that office, wherever that is. So however long you think it's going to take you to get into into the office, 15 minutes early. I want you to walk in the athlete you are, confident in what you're about to do. Got the job on Monday. So I asked him, and my exit interview with him was, I said, what was the trick? What was the big thing? He goes, I think it was the hospitality experience. Yeah, you're going into sales. You're going into sales. So,
Mhm.
so that was one of my. I think that's my most celebrated success, and one that I can really, in a week's time, I changed this kid from what seemed to be. I never met
Mhm.
this kid. I don't even. If he walked in here right now, I would know who he is.
Yeah, it could be me. You never know. No.
So, so there you go.
Yeah.
Success.
No, no, I like that. I like I like all the ways that I can remind myself and the listener can remind themselves that for all the different ways that we think of ourselves as rational beings, even working from home, getting up, taking a shower, getting dressed when you go to work, even if work is in your living room on the computer, how you feel about how you're dressed does affect what you do and how you behave in the world. And, you know, those little nods towards self-confidence of the what have you done? What have you conquered? Keep that in mind. The little things about showing up early, taking a breath, you know, kind of a side benefit for a lot of people that live in cities, like, you're not going to be late because of traffic if you're 30 minutes early. That lack of stress means that you can show up as your best self, you
Correct.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I think, it's not too far off from what we were describing earlier with positive activity, that beginning to the day, because I did want to kind of dig in a little bit about how things have changed. And yes, ideas of what dressed up entails can be a little fluid, especially if you're in an artistic community or, different groups have different standards. But I think just like waking up and beginning the day with gratitude, taking a moment for meditation, even if you don't want to call it that, you are approaching the day in a conscious, deliberate way that you choose. And I think just having a moment to think about how is the world interpreting what I'm wearing transfers the power to you. So you get to choose, even if you are dressed up like an artist, are you presenting the image that you want to the world? It becomes a conscious choice and not just a default option.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, it's intentional.
Hmm.
But that's one of the things I'll talk to people about. It's like, if you run into somebody somewhere, you go that you like, that you get along with, you want, a restaurant or whatnot. So, we can do this with intention. Why don't we share numbers? Next time you
Hmm.
think about coming down here, just let us know. We'll meet you. You know, it's rare you find. It's interesting. And that again, even in an advanced age, it's rare you find people that take you up on that. We found this couple, my son and I. We have a place in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and met this couple, very interesting couple, just at one of the local restaurant bars and whatnot. Good little joint, and he shared what he was doing in this Tao. He was a kung fu fighter at one point. Yeah,
Just like the song. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Cal, yeah, was whatever his name is, and he also so we shared a lot of stuff and contact information. Oh no, they gave a card. They gave that's when they have card. They have their own cards, just with
Mm.
basic information. No, here's Kim and Sue. Sue with a U, and Kim is the guy, obviously. And so he hands it to my son and I. I said, "Oh, no, 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 you don't understand. You will hear from me. I don't make beer plans. You know what beer plans are?
Plans at the bar, you don't try to, you don't ever actually follow through on.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You meet somebody at 11 o'clock at night. You've had a few beers. They've had a few beers. Oh, it's great seeing you. We need to get together. Don't
We
ever
should play baseball. Yeah.
Don't ever
Yeah.
tell me that, because you're
Uh,
gonna get a call, you're gonna get an email. Hey, by the way, I'm open to that. If you, somebody actually calling me on this. So I
mhm.
make it a point. Matter of fact, I've got one book I've got to send this week to a bartender at the Villages in Florida, because the last chapter, Hospitality Happiness, was wrote with him in mind, him and his
Oh,
partner
that's
in mind.
awesome.
So we went in.
That's
I
cool.
went in there one night when I was down there. My mother-in-law is now, she's mobile, but she doesn't like to go out. So I went downtown by myself with, the music every night, and I went into the restaurant and I told them the story. I said, I need your home address. I'm going to send you a copy of my book. So I'm a little bit behind on that because it's now Wednesday and I haven't put it in the mail yet, but I will.
Yeah. It'll probably get there before this comes out. Neil Rogers, ladies and gentlemen. For the listeners at home who found this interesting and would like to know more about you and your work, where could they go to find out more?
Positiveactivity.net. You'll
That's easy.
find the direct link to the book. The blog posts, I think, are pretty good. I think they're pretty insightful. To all this type of stuff that we've been talking about today, things that you can practically apply straight away, aha moments, that type of stuff. Um, we don't write for the sake of writing, so they're not as frequent. Our content is not as frequent, but what we put out there always is meaningful. And things
Quality
like,
over quantity.
there's a whole thing on beer plans.
Hmm. Perfect.
Because,
And
by the way, that was another one that my buddy Bill said to me before I even started working with him. I had done a quick little stint with somebody else, and he was helping me just to help me. Called me at 10 o'clock at night. You got to get, here are the numbers here. Call this person. Do that. Da 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 da. And then he said to me, because some of the promotional stuff that we have in the footwear business was, we have posters of the athletes and stuff like that. He goes, if you tell somebody you're going to send them a poster, send them the poster. No complex marketing theory. Send them the poster, little handwritten note, as promised, Bill.
make promises, keep promises.
That's it. Over deliver.
Yeah. Awesome. And if you are at home listening or in the car, could not write down positiveactivity.net, I will have that in the show notes. Neil, thanks for joining us today.
Enjoyed it, my friend. Have a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thank you again for listening to Serves You Right. Episodes of this show come out every Tuesday and Thursday. If you have not had a chance, please go and check out the website, servesyouRightPod.com. You can find all past episodes and a contact form in case you need to get in touch with me. And soon, so much more. All right, that's about it. Thank you.